So thank you so much for coming to the Young Adult Workforce Landscape Analysis Info Session, otherwise known as YAWLA, because those in the workforce space, we love acronyms, don't we? We're so thankful that you are joining today. We are recording so that we can share this out with folks that were not able to make it. I'm going to kick it off to Alex, who's going to talk about exactly what this is.
Yeah, so YAWLA is a project that you could actually trace back to 10 years. The last really comprehensive landscape analysis of young adult workforce development programs was performed in 2015, and that was largely used to inform 10 years of funding, policy, and workforce investments. That is the similar purpose of the work that we're doing right now, where we're seeking to engage at a minimum 300 practitioners across the country in a comprehensive survey that will create a snapshot of what's working, what's not working, the gaps and opportunities. And for the purpose of defining young adults, we're defining young adults as individuals between the ages of 18 to 29.
So wanted to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We mentioned earlier, my name is Chioki Most-Hollisford. Alex Breen is my colleague. And we have two other folks working on this project, Chris Shannon and Rachel Wilby. But we're all from Corporation for a Skilled Workforce. For those not familiar, we're a national nonprofit that's been around for more than 30 years. And we really do work to increase the economic mobility of workers. We partner with a whole host of folks, including workforce orgs on the ground, larger intermediaries, funders, community colleges, employers, workers and learners themselves, to really understand what policies and practices actually achieve that economic mobility that we're all looking for. We have a lot of history doing research and data collection projects, which includes the Workforce Benchmarking Network and the Workforce Benchmarking Network National Survey.
So purpose of this project is to really understand and center the perspectives of practitioners that are leading this work, to really understand the priorities of practitioners, resources and capacities that are needed to do this work more effectively. We ask in the survey and in follow-up focus groups a series of questions about promising practices around engaging employers, maintaining and effectively engaging alumni once they complete a program, and are really interested in identifying the best and promising practices that lead to successful employment placements.
So why does this matter, right? We know that education, training, and employment sectors, which have been serving young adults, have significantly shifted in the last 15 years, right? The pandemic caused a lot of that, shifts to federal funding, state funding, and really even changes to the generations that we're serving have all resulted in kind of this shift. And we recognize, and the org that we're working with on behalf of realizes that it's really important to create a comprehensive snapshot of the sector from you all on the ground doing the work, right? To better understand and better direct the resources and investments down the road, support the frontline workers working day in and day out with young adults in this field, and really understanding how to address the support services and opportunity access needs of young adults to enable them to have the good jobs, the good careers that enable them to have a thriving life.
So a question that we've already received more than a dozen times after our initial outreach campaign has been, how will this information be used? And really want to make clear that this survey data is going to be used to inform workforce grant making at the local levels, at the regional levels, and at the national levels. Nothing that you shared, like not even the name of the individuals completing the survey or the name of the organizations that they represented, will be shared with anyone beyond CSW, and we're just collecting that information in Qualtrics to make sure that not multiple people from a single organization are completing the survey, which could then skew our findings. The final report and final webinar in which we're going to be presenting findings, as well as the national, local, regional, national conference circuit, which we will be hitting on behalf of this project. We will not be identifying participating organizations. We are going to be talking a little bit later about focus groups, and there may be the opportunity to, if we hear of a practice or a gap or an opportunity that we feel is particularly compelling, it is possible that we will reach out to that individual and ask written permission to use a quote or to use their name in the final report, but that would be only with express written permission.
So you're probably wondering, I am really strapped for time. And my staff is, so why should I do this? Why is it worth my time? And kind of like we mentioned, the information that we collect is really designed to understand the best and promising practices, right? So that you can learn from it. The folks you work with day in, day out can, and really like funders and those making policy can understand as well. It's really important also to understand service gaps and unrealized opportunities, and that will be lifted up as well. And then I think we all have been in a space where we wonder, how are the outcomes of the work that I do how are they compared to other organizations serving the same population? And this will allow any organization that participates to benchmark themselves, again, anonymously, against your regional and national peers on the operational and service offering level. The last thing to kind of sweeten the pot is that practitioners who are in the young adult workforce space who complete the survey will be eligible for a raffle drawing of $1,000 that will go to their organization.
And one thing to note is that we're going to be doing four separate raffle drawings, so a total of $4,000 will be distributed to four separate organizations, and we're going to be doing that drawing at the end of September, following the last of our focus groups. Another question we've been getting is about survey and focus group eligibility, and any organization that is providing direct workforce services to young adults 18 to 29 that lead to employment is eligible to complete the survey and participate in a focus group. So this could be community-based organizations, a national organization, and one thing to note, we know of a lot of national organizations with an imprint in multiple states. Each outpost of that national organization is eligible to participate in the survey. So it is possible that an organization, I think it would defy odds, but could win 4 times based upon or receive $4,000 total based on the responses of 4 individual sites. Community college, vocational training providers. I know Chioki had a conversation with a workforce investment board that does some direct service work. That entity is eligible and encouraged to apply. So really, if you are in that young adult workforce development space, serving individuals 18 to 29, you are eligible to participate.
And the one thing that I'll note is if you are a workforce intermediary, either a workforce board, another organization that supports orgs on the ground, that if you're not eligible to participate, please share with your network, because again, this allows the work being done in your community to be lifted up and a part of this research that we're doing. So you can take the survey anytime from 2 days ago all the way through July 3rd of 2025, end of day. So right before, hopefully, everyone will have a vacation on the 4th. And we have also gotten to get the question of like, how long does it take? We've had folks test it and it's taken no longer than 25 minutes to complete. And those who do complete it will be eligible to participate in an optional focus group, which Alex has mentioned. And they'll also be eligible for that raffle drawing.
So in terms of the timing of focus groups will take place twice per week, July through September. We are going to be early next week sending out invitations to focus groups for some of the first round of folks that have already completed the survey. And I think we plan for those focus groups to continue until around September 24th or September 25th.
And the purpose of the focus group is really for us to dive deeper into what we're seeing in the survey findings and getting some of the qualitative answers to questions that we really do want to understand. We will be sharing these findings in the fall. So that's when all the research will be finalized. Again, if you participate, you'll not only get a written report that summarizes this research that's really tailored to those who participated, but also we'll have an exclusive webinar that allows us to just lift up the data, really dive into it and answer the specific questions that you guys have because you've experienced the survey.
And we'll also be distributing the aggregate quantitative findings from the survey. So your organization can actually benchmark the services that it provides, its outcomes, against hundreds of national peers that also operate in the young adult space or serve young adults between the ages of 18 and 29.
So while it will take, again, an average of about 25 minutes, it is adaptive, something we wanted to note. It is pretty comprehensive. And so one thing that I don't think we mentioned before is this survey was designed not just from input from the CSW team, but we did engage with a lot of youth service, workforce service providers across the country to understand and get feedback on the types of information that would be helpful for them to advance their work, and also to test the survey. And so we really are going to be focusing on what are effective strategies that you guys use or see that allows you to place young adults into quality jobs. We really want to understand what both your priorities are for the field and also the capacity challenges. We recognize there's a lot of things happening. If we just even look at the funding, right, changes the federal funding, ARPA dollars kind of running out or stopping, right? There's a lot of things impacting the work that you're doing, and we want to understand more about that. We also need to understand what you need to effectively connect young adults to employment and those services that allow you to engage employers, good employers that allow quality job opportunities for the youth you serve. We recognize that a lot of us in workforce shifted our practices as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we want to understand how that has continued to shape how you deliver the services that you offer. And then again, lastly, as we mentioned, there's a lot of funding changes, and we want to understand how that has impacted the changes right now to your staffing.
So we have the link on the survey, and really everything about this project can be found at the website page, which is yaworkforcelandscape.org. Chris just put the direct survey link into the chat. Survey is 137. There are 137 questions in total. Again, we found based on, I think we're up to somewhere in the ballpark of 7 to 9 recent testers from the past week, that very rarely has it eclipsed 25 minutes to complete. And if there is an answer that somebody doesn't know, you can by all means click no or click not applicable, as we recognize as for some survey respondents, they might not have access to all of the available information. Shoki, I know one question that I just actually received via email was about best representatives at organizations to complete the survey. And I wonder if you might really briefly speak to that even before we get to the Q&A section.
Yeah, so there are some kind of data related questions that we want to understand. How many young adults do you serve? Information about some job placement. But really a lot of it is about the services that you offer. I think oftentimes when surveys like this come, you might send it over to someone on your data team to do, but really is somebody who understands kind of the big picture of who is actually the services that you offer, how you engage with employers. If it's something where you and another colleague sit down, somebody who really engages with employers that understands that work, and somebody who's more over the kind of direct service provision, that's completely fine. But really it is somebody who understands the direct service that you're offering.
And I would also mention, I think something that we pulled from our testers who have been absolutely incredible is that there really is an interest amongst providers in understanding the effectiveness of services. So we'd also note that that is one of the key elements that we went back and have been adding over the past week before the survey went live.
So that's it for us. We want to understand if you have any questions that we can offer before we give you back the rest of your day. And you can feel free to raise your hands, put it in the chat, whatever works.
Okay, now one question that we received has been, and there is a question from Andrea. Have you all identified who you'll share the report with beyond participants?
Yeah, Alex, want to take that?
Yeah, so we are going to be sharing this with funders, with policymakers. We've already received invitations to present this work at a series of local, regional, and national convenings. Yeah, I mean, the goal is to really make sure that folks that have the opportunity to utilize this information for strategic decision making, whether it be for policy work, whether it be for determining funding, whether it be helping organizations identify best and promising practices that they may want to incorporate into their programming. We're going to be dedicating a lot of time in the fall of 2025 and the spring of 2026 to presenting this work. So I think even beyond the funders that are commissioning this work, we will be absolutely presenting this work for everyone that is interested in listening. Kathy, I see your hand.
Hey there. Sorry, it took a minute to unmute. Hi, everybody. Hi, Chris. Good to see you again. Kathy Hamilton from Boston. And, in this current environment, I wondered, having read some of the memos flying around, and I'm sure others will, is there any chance, and have you even thought about this, that this survey could be used as a reason to defund or cut funding to programs?
That's a really great question. We definitely have talked about the current environment and climate and what sort of questions are appropriate given that. And right, confidentiality, certain information that I think doesn't need to be collected. I think it's an excellent question, but I think our position is that it really enables us to lift up the best practices to allow people to more strategically use their investments, to allow for young adults to get better employment, which we know employment is something that cuts across all lines, and is something that I think everyone kind of agrees upon, that employment is good for everybody and for the economy. But that is a very valid point. And I think that's something that we always take into consideration when we really lift up the findings and any recommendations that might be put forth of how this might be used, and making sure that it really elevates both the work of workforce organizations on the ground, and demonstrates just how important you are to the ecosystem and the economy, and how additional supports allow you to do even more.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Kathy, just an example. I mean, I think the kinds of questions we're asking are around like, what are the barriers that are most significant? And it could be, for example, transportation is the greatest barrier. It could be lack of funding for workforce training. I can't think of a single single question in the survey that I feel could be used in a nature that would be punitive, but there is also, not every question is not required. So if there's a question that, a practitioner feels based upon the political climate, I do not feel comfortable answering this question, would encourage that person to bypass.
Great. Well, we want to thank you so much for coming to learning more about this project. Thank you for taking the time. I'm just going to say thank you for the future investment in completing it and sharing it with your network. But again, I think it's just such a phenomenal opportunity for the voices who know best to lift up the practices that we need to continue to invest in, the opportunities to better support youth at getting employment. And I'm just really excited about this project and the ability to really lift up your voices and perspectives. So thank you so much. We'll follow up with the slides and all the information that you need.
Jyoti, there's one more question. Can they start the survey and come back to it later? Like if they need to ask a coworker about a response.
I believe the answer to that is yes, as when I was testing this, but Andrea, we will absolutely add that to the FAQ and can get you a response in the next couple of hours. Thanks all. Have a great rest of Thursday.
Thank you.